Welcome back to another video. Today we are talking about the dramatic fall off of 7 deadly sins. Or not, Nanatsu no Taizai. I think Nanatsu no Taizai just rolls off the tongue better. Anyway, this story about Meliodas, Bond, Elizabeth, King, Diane, Escanor, Gother, Merlin, and Hawk. About their story, about defeating the Demon King and the goddess eventually at the end of the story. Went out to take the grand journey on defeating the Demon King's army. Of course, Meliodas' brother Zeldris and his presumed brother or fake brother Estarossa, that turns out to be just, I think, an angel at the end. I'm not really sure the angel's name, like what his original name is, but I know he's Meliodas' fake brother essentially, because he's not his real brother. It's just the real Gother, the puppeteer that made the puppet Gother that we see in the story, had to change sides to make it more balanced, as Mael and Meliodas cannot be on the same side against the demon army. The original Gother said that's not fair. Well, we finna lose badly, ridiculously. Like, they finna stomp us. Something gotta change. So the original Gother made the switch and made Estarossa, made Mael Estarossa, and made Estarossa thinking that, I'm Zeldris and Meliodas' brother. But essentially he's not. I just think that's a really good component of the story. But anyway, the fall off of 7 Deadly Sins is just explained in the animation. Is that it changed studios way too many times. Season 1, if you go back and watch season 1, is great. It's full of great animation. The fights are phenomenal. I mean, Bond versus Meliodas round 1, when they're in that little tournament arc, is great. When Meliodas first receives his power, when Meliodas goes berserk, great. When he has to run in fear from when he dices up Lord Twig, phenomenal. I mean, everything about the first season of 7 Deadly Sins that you see on Netflix, because that's how I watched it, is phenomenal. But then, once time went on, 7 Deadly Sins, a year, 2 years, it takes time to animate story, and there might not be as much content. But 2 years go by, they had to switch studios, because the original studio, I just don't know the names of who animated them, but the original studio just wouldn't do it, or they just passed off of 7 Deadly Sins as they were focused on too many projects. So they transferred it to a different studio. That studio accepted it. I think it switched studios, twice, unless One Punch may have switched studios twice. I don't really remember. I think 7 Deadly Sins may have switched twice, or they just switched once. But anyway, the new studio brings it in. The second season doesn't look as bad as the first, but of course it doesn't have the quality of the first season that we've seen. It just doesn't have the same fight. It's a little bit more stiff, and unfortunately it just doesn't have that little oomph. Now, the story of 7 Deadly Sins is phenomenal. The twist at the end with Estarossa and Mael, great. Escanor dying, as much as I hated the decision, is great for the story, as it seems that not everyone can make it out alive. I think that is a phenomenal way to end the story. As well as that little bad movie. I didn't like the 7 Deadly Sins movie. They could have done without it. But seeing Meliodas and Zeldris' relationship, seeing Meliodas being cold-hearted as he is, and seeing Elizabeth's backstory, Elizabeth and Meliodas' backstory, it's really tragic to see. I'm not gonna lie. The story around 7 Deadly Sins is great, but what it's missing is the fights. For some reason, when they kept changing studios between season 2, season 3, season 4, I think 7 Deadly Sins went on for 4 or 5 seasons. I'm not sure, because I had to drop the show because they messed up was supposed to be the best fight in the show. It was supposed to be on Gojo and Sukuna level, because Gojo and Sukuna is going to be animated by Mappa. It's going to be a top 5 anime fight of all time. That level of hype that we have for that fight, that is 2 years, maybe 3 years away from Gojo and Sukuna, should have been applied to Meliodas and Escanor, as it is essentially the same fight. But since the change in the studios happens and 7 Deadly Frames is what became the narrative around 7 deadly sins, which is a fact. It's a pure fact that 7 deadly frames became the narrative of the show, which also caused it to fall off, as not many people watched it because they just heard that the animation was stiff and it was bad compared to its counterparts. I mean, 7 Deadly Sins was really competing with One Punch Man, Fairy Tail, and Attack on Titan at the time as one of the like major shows. Besides the end of Naruto, One Piece was still going on, and of course Bleach was just non-existent. And Dragon Ball Super was ongoing, but I'm not sure if, I mean, Dragon Ball Z is just on a different level besides those shows. But 7 Deadly Sins was competing with Attack on Titan first season, One Punch Man first season, Fairy Tail. It was really competing with heavy hitters. I mean, for sure it was. But then when the change of studios happened and 7 Deadly Frames came into fray, that narrative just stuck, and it's still sticking within the anime community. It went down. Meliodas and Escanor should be a top 10 anime fight of all time. Of course, that's still an opinion, but that doesn't mean it should have been giving the love. It should have been giving the budget to show how strong Escanor is in the one form, as he's the pinnacle of everything, and how strong Meliodas is in his, in his original form without the commandments, and assault mode where he's not holding back, because Meliodas and Escanor, they're the only two people that can fight each other without holding back, unless it's the goddess and the demon king, of course. And of course, Meliodas has to eventually give up his real true power when he absorbs all the commandments, and has to release and destroy the commandments because he just wants to live with Elizabeth. But he can't if he has all that power, to be fair. But eventually, I'm like, Escanor and Meliodas, like, if you read the manga, there's nothing wrong with the story. The story is phenomenal. It's a really good story. Now, if you don't like this kind of show, like the magic power kind of thing with the group, multiple main characters, if you don't like this kind of show, fair enough. But I know who watches my videos, so I know most of them are, we like power fantasy animes, magic shows. Like, that's just us. And I appreciate it, because that's the kind of shows I watch too. Escanor and Meliodas should be it should be fights we see clipped day after day. One of the ones that we express, one of the ones that we show our friends to get inside of anime. But no, it is framed up like you was watching a Nintendo show. I'm not even saying a 3DS Nintendo show. Remember those 3DS Nintendo shows? They was aight. They was good. They had better animation than 7 Deadly Sins post season 1 for some reason. And since Escanor and Meliodas just had not the love, not the budget for it, it fell off. I really wish this gets remastered, but it won't, because it's probably too fresh in people's minds, especially with the sequel series that's out right now. And the sequel series is doing pretty good. I haven't watched it yet because I'm still mad about the Escanor and Meliodas fight, but I read the manga, so I know it's really good. But yeah, that Escanor and Meliodas fight is what fell off a lot of people, because that is the biggest, hypest fight of this show. That's the fight everyone wants to see, Escanor and Meliodas, because even Meliodas, when Escanor is even mentioned, he says he's stronger than me. So we want to see the facts behind it. But no. What do we get? We get a bunch of Lego pieces moving side to side. The reason why Record of Ragnarok never worked. They're moving side to side. And that's caused the dramatic fall off of 7 Deadly Sins. It went from a heavy hitter to a scrub. Like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.